All right, so understanding how and where the diaphragm is really, really important. Oh, we talked a little bit about how it was anchored. That anchor of the lumbar spine comes down right on the front of the vertebra. So this is a model of the lumbar spine. There are 5 vertebrae, and then up here is where the thoracic spine starts, where the ribs start being attached. But the diaphragm comes and attaches right down here, basically where my hand is, and it's right on the vertebra. So you can see as this muscle contracts, it's going to pull up and down and up, and then when it releases, it'll go down. And these discs, so the discs in your spine, all throughout your spine, they don't have a lot of blood flow. They don't have any blood vessels into them. The way that they get their nutrients is by a process called imbibition. It's basically they act like a sponge. So you have these blood vessels that go up and down the spine adjacent to the discs, and as they move, as they contract and expand, that sponging action pulls blood tissue into the disc, that plasma into the disc, and makes it malleable and pliable and helps it do its job. When you stop moving, this model actually illustrates it. When you stop moving, that disc desiccates, it dries out, it compresses, and then that disc can bulge back and put pressure on the nerves. You end up with sciatic pain, all kinds of referred pain down your legs. And it's super, super common. Having a bulging disc is actually very, very common. Usually they're asymptomatic. Right? I have bulging discs. But when you understand, when it gets bad and what to do about it, it starts with breathing. If you can breathe properly, you're creating traction. People spend tens of thousands of dollars on traction machines. There are offices, there are chiropractic offices, physical therapy offices that are just traction machines, because traction is good for the spine. Each of us has a built-in traction unit. You have your diaphragm in there. It's designed to create traction. It creates traction when you breathe as it pulls up. And if you kind of visualize with me up here, your rib cage, when it's pulling out like this, as you flatten out that diaphragm and push the bottom of the rib cage out, those ribs are getting pulled out away from the midline of your spine. And when you go to the chiropractor, and I'm a chiropractor, all right, when you go get adjusted, our objective is the neutralization of the position and the movement of the spine, because we want to free up the nervous system from being interfered with. But when you breathe properly and you're breathing out like this, think about your ribs like ropes on a tent pole, okay? And your spine is that tent pole. You get a little bit of a lean this way, or a little bit of a rotation that way. If your ribs are being pushed out with an even tension on that midline, you can see how that would pull that tent pole to the middle. It'll pull it into neutral. And as that's happening, you're creating traction in the thoracic spine. As this is happening, you're creating traction in the lumbar spine. And as this is happening, instead of breathing up, you're decompressing your cervical spine. So it creates decompression throughout your entire spine, helping your discs in your entire spine, neutralizing the position of the spine and the nervous system. On top of that, so by doing that, that neurological impulse that we talked about, the sympathetic nervous system between T1 and L2, it has less tension on it. As you relieve tension in those joints and those vertebrae, there's less tension in the nervous system. So good posture doesn't just look good, it is actually super healthy for you, because it downregulates the stress response, which puts your body into a state of rest and digest, lets that parasympathetic system do its work, start to repair and heal and regenerate. On another benefit, and it goes on and on, but around the base of your ribs, there's more lymphatic tissue than anywhere else in your body. The lymph system is a system that's it's kind of underappreciated, and it's not talked about a whole lot. It's a system of tubes throughout your body that picks up the garbage that your immune system leaves behind. When your white blood cells go out, leave the blood vessels, go into the interstitial fluid, into the interstitial space, and find those viruses and those bacteria and those cancer cells, and they gobble them up. They don't actually consume them. They just break them up and make them not useful anymore. And those pieces are too big to then come back into the bloodstream. The lymphatic system picks those pieces up. But the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. The vascular system has a pump in the heart. The heart will pump the blood through the vascular system. The lymphatic system's anatomical pump is actually the diaphragm, because it acts like a bellows, right? So when you open and when you're expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting, that creates a suction toward the midsection. The lymphatic system has this little dump right here, kind of opposite of the heart, where it dumps all the junk that it's collected back into the bloodstream, where in the blood, there are things that could go in there and break those things up and use the parts for other things in the body. But it's got to get there. So when you have lymphatic backup, you stay sicker longer. So breathing in your diaphragm, pumping that lymphatic system, gets all that junk out of the way so the immune system can actually do its job more effectively. So these are just some of the benefits. Another big one is gas exchange. If you think about the anatomy of your lungs, they're big on bottom, small on top. So if you're breathing up here, like most people do most of the time, you're breathing into the small part of your lungs. You're not getting as much gas exchange with each breath. You want to pull the air down into the bottom of your lungs. There's 7 times more capacity in the bottom half than there's in the top half. So when you start exchanging gas at that accelerated rate, really good things happen. Your breathing slows down. And a lot of people don't realize that if you were to drown and die from drowning, you don't die from lack of oxygen. You drown because you can't get rid of enough carbon dioxide. People will fall into frozen rivers. They'll pull them out 20 or 30 minutes later and they'll revive them. Because when they fall into a frozen river, all of a sudden their metabolic processes slow down. They stop producing as much carbon dioxide. There's plenty of oxygen in the blood to last the brain about 20 to 30 minutes. So as long as that's moving, you can live. As long as you're not producing carbon dioxide. You fall into water, you're thrashing around, you create more carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide poisoning is what actually kills you. So understanding that, the exhale is really, really important, right? Because every inhale, the amount of oxygen you get with each inhale is not nearly as important as how much carbon dioxide you're getting out with each exhale. So the amount of gas exchange is really important to reducing the stress response in your body. Because when you have all that toxicity building up in your body, that carbon dioxide just building up there, that stresses the body out. When you can get rid of it, cortisol goes down, adrenaline goes down, noradrenaline goes down, dopamine and serotonin get into the brain better, all kinds of really good things happen. So getting the diaphragm to fire and to use it properly has all sorts of health benefits in every aspect of your life.